They shall be my finest warriors, these men who give themselves to me. Like clay I shall mould them, and in the furnace of war forge them. They will be of iron will and steely muscle. In great armour shall I clad them, and with the mightiest guns will they be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease. No sickness will blight them. They will have tactics, strategies, and machines such that no foe can best them in battle. They are my bulwark against the terror. They are the defenders of humanity. They are my Space Marines, and they shall know no fear. The founding of the Dawn Hammers. Throughout the millennia, there have been many foundings of Space Marine chapters. The Dawn Hammers were born of the third founding, and trace their heritage to the 7th Legion, the Imperial Fists, and their Primarch, Rogal Dorn. The initial founding members were drawn from those who possessed two of their father's qualities most strongly, those with the desire to build, and those who believed in the Emperor's dream of a bright future for mankind. This would be their symbol, the hammers and the sun at the dawn of a new day. This ethos was retained in their chosen colours. Each battle brother wore an armour of black, representing the night that had come. But upon their heads they wore golden helms, signifying the dawn that would one day sweep away the darkness. According to the legends, the Primarch himself gifted the first chapter master, Kratrios, with 3 of the chapter's holiest relics. The first was a mighty suit of Cataphracti Terminator armour, known simply as the Wall, which had been worn by Kratrios when he had served in the Imperial Fist's first company. The second and third were the Dawn Hammers themselves, a pair of master-crafted thunder hammers, supposedly forged by the command of Dawn himself, to be used by Kratrios. These relics would be passed down to each successive chapter master until the current day. While they began life as a crusading chapter, they soon found that it ill-suited them, and they were granted the world of Halcyon II as a permanent home and recruiting world. The Halcyon system was a prosperous one, but its second world was a harsh desert beset by huge, monstrous creatures. The local humans were forced to build impressive, albeit primitive fortresses to survive, and in these hardy folk, the Dawn Hammers found perfect recruiting stock. The Dawn Hammers at war. The nature of the Dawn Hammers has led to a preference for defensive warfare, their gifts for fortress construction notable even amongst the other Sons of Dawn. When the Dawn Hammers march, they move in unison. For a wall to stand, every part of it must bear its weight. These are the words that define the Dawn Hammers, and each squad is but a part of a whole and must work perfectly with its fellows. Personal glory is not looked for, and those who seek it at the expense of their brothers are harshly chastised. This attitude extends past the bounds of the chapter, and out to the rest of the Imperium. Unlike many others, the Dawn Hammers do not look down upon the soldiers of the Astra Militarum, Skitarii, or the Adeptus Sororitas, seeing them as pieces of a whole. After all, while the Astartes may be immensely powerful, their numbers are few, and they cannot be everywhere at once. Even the mighty Devastator squad may fall should its flanks be overrun, but with proper support from tactical squads to screen their flanks, they can bring their true force upon the foe. The Imperium is no different. We are stronger than mortals, but without their sacrifices the Imperium would have fallen long ago. Life is the Emperor's currency, and it should not be spent carelessly. It is partially for this reason that the chapter sends an unusually high number of battle brothers to serve in the ranks of the Death Watch. But while the area of space they protect has faced many Xenos threats, far more important is the experience of working with Marines from other chapters. Anyone considered by his captain as having the potential for higher command will be sent to serve a term with the Watch, and many squad sergeants bear the shoulder pad of Inquisition service. Of the current captains, only one has not served in the Death Watch. This also serves to make the Dawn Hammers exceptional Xenos killers, due to the additional knowledge and training they receive. One of the few exceptions to the defensive doctrine of the Dawn Hammers is the deployment of the First Company. As with many other chapters, the First Company is rarely deployed en masse. Its veteran battle brothers are instead spread out to ensure the benefits of their experience and equipment are available as required. They often deploy these veterans to battle in Terminator Plate, using teleport strikes to attack deep in the enemy's flanks, often targeting leaders or important heavy weapons. This is exemplified by the Chapter Master and his personal bodyguard, 10 assault Terminators, each bearing a Thunderhammer and Storm Shield. And when this group takes to the field, they reap impressive devastation within the enemy's ranks, with their master at the fore, relic hammers in hand, clad in his ancient armour. The Chapter's organisation. The Dawn Hammers are a largely Codex-compliant chapter, although they do have some minor variations. Most obvious is a higher than average number of tech marines, as their complex fortresses often require significant oversight. It is also noted that their chapter serfs contain an unusually large percentage of women. The reason for this is that when the chapter established itself on its homeworld, no one told the inhabitants that female children could not become space marines. As such, when they sent their children for the trials, many young girls arrived with the boys. All children who arrive for the trials are tested in numerous ways, including trials of skill, courage, and intelligence, until only the worthy remain. At this point, the chapter's apothecaries test the children, and those without the physical ability to become marines, including all of the girls, are separated out and offered the opportunity to serve the chapter as serfs, being placed into educational programs to teach them skills that would allow them to best serve the chapter, ranging from repair and construction duties as assistants to tech marines, to crewing and even captaining the chapter starships. These serfs are regarded as full members of the chapter, and their names are recorded alongside those of full battle brothers after their deaths upon the walls of their fortress monastery. One unusual note is that the Dawn Hammers have an ad hoc 11th company, known as the Company of Builders. Assignment to this company is a purely temporary affair, and comes about when a battle brother feels an overriding need to build something. Whether this comes about as a result of the chapter's reverence of their father as the Imperium's greatest builder, or as some strange flaw in their gene seed, is currently unclear. What is certain, however, is that when it comes over one battle brother, others will soon follow. Once this happens, the group is temporarily assigned to the 11th Company, and given leave to fulfill their need. They will seek out a suitable Imperial world, and after acquiring land from the local government, they will construct a building, most often a simple hab block. These buildings are almost always austere, but incredibly sturdy constructs, and at the request of the Marines are always granted to those Imperial citizens with nowhere else to go. This rather unusual behaviour has earned the Dawn Hammers a lot of favour with the populations around their homeworld, where they are often held up as symbols of hope. Once their work is done, the Marines will return to their home and be reassigned back to their original places, the 11th Company disbanded, until it is needed once again. The 41st Millennium. By the last years of the 41st Millennium, the Dawn Hammers were under the command of Chapter Master Anvar. Former 3rd Company Captain, Anvar became Chapter Master in 846 M41, following the death of his predecessor in battle with the forces of Chaos. He quickly established himself as a talented leader, with a keen head for strategy, but perhaps more importantly, he was highly skilled at working with other Imperial commanders. During the Procyon Crusade, a combined force of Astra Militarum and Adeptus Mechanicus almost came apart when the two leaders sought to command the other. Anvar was able to impress upon both sides the necessity of cooperation, and the pair agreed to appoint him as overall commander of the Crusade. Under his control, the three forces worked as an organised pieces of a single machine, and the Orc war they had been sent to disrupt was successfully defeated. Upon the Crusade's conclusion, Anvar was hailed by both sides for seemingly contradictory reasons. The Mechanicus praised his cold logic, and the Imperial Guard his humanity. The truth, of course, is that both of these were the individuals reading deeply into the diplomat's mask he adopted. However, Anvar's tenure as Chapter Master has been far from smooth. Just prior to the commencement of Abaddon's 13th Black Crusade, the Dawn Hammers found themselves embroiled in a nearly disastrous conflict upon the world of Darien, a planet revealed to be home to a vast Necron tomb. Initially, the Imperial forces had believed themselves to be fighting only a minor incursion of unknown Xenos, but by chance an Inquisitor of the Ordo Xenos named Aluna Vornay was present upon Dorian and saw the threat for what it was. She arranged for an astropathic distress call to be sent, and Chapter Master Anvar responded. The Chapter Master came personally to Darien, aboard one of the chapter's battle barges, the Unbowed Wall, bringing with him almost 400 Dawnhammers, including the entire 4th, the entire 8th, and elements of the 2nd, 5th, and 1st companies. Anvar intended to see the Necron threat destroyed. Sadly, the campaign would prove far more complicated. The battle soon became a protracted war of attrition, as the Necron legions battered themselves to pieces against the Dawnhammer's masterful defences. Against any other foe, the defence of Bastion would have been nigh unbeatable, but against the Necron's supernatural regenerative abilities, even the Dawnhammers began to take substantial losses. After a campaign that lasted almost 3 months, Anvar was forced to change strategies. Rather than see his men be ground slowly down, he ordered his scouts to locate the central Necron tomb complex. He then organised a massive distraction, ordering more than 2 companies worth of his marines to stage an assault upon the Necron complex. Once the battle was joined, Anvar and a team of 1st Company veterans deployed directly into the tomb via teleport. Several were killed due to malfunction or imprecise targeting, but that had always been a risk. Those that were left struck deep into the heart of the Necron's enclave, and with their chapter master at the head, they located the Resurrection Hub. The destruction of this hub effectively ended the Necron threat on Darien, but it was not without cost. By the end, the war had cost the Dawnhammers almost 300 battle brothers, and while the apothecaries were able to recover much of their gene seed, the loss was still significant. Anvar ordered an immediate increase in chapter recruitment, but the opening of the Great Rift caused further troubles. The coming of the Primaris. When the Great Rift opened, the Imperium suddenly found itself beset on all sides by warp-spawn threats. The Halcyon system was no different. The planetary capital, Halcyon III, erupted into sudden violence. Riots and cults erupted from the ground, and the Dawnhammers were suddenly hard-pressed, deploying in small teams from their orbiting strike cruisers. This lasted for months. The light of the Astronomicon flickered and died. All hope seemed lost. But, in the Imperium's darkest hour, the Dawnhammers held true to their belief that all night is fleeting, and the dawn will come. When the Emperor's light flared once more, they knew they had been proved correct. And then came the news of the Imperial Regent. A single ship made transit into the system. On board was a custodian, one of the Emperor's own bodyguards. He told of the resurrection of the Primarch Roboute Guilliman, of the fall of Cadia, and of the Indomitus Crusade. Anvar declared that it was their duty to aid the awakened Primarch, but that he could not leave his area of space unprotected. Anvar did, however, order 2 strike cruisers, each with a half company aboard, to join the crusade. The custodian thanked Anvar, and told him that he would serve the Imperium better by ensuring its borders remained safe. But before he departed, he granted the Dawnhammers one final gift: the modifications to the Space Marine creation process that allowed for the creation of the Primaris Marines. Anvar gratefully accepted this gift, and all of the recruits who had been taken since the Battle of Darien underwent this new process. While they did not receive a direct influx of Primaris like many of the other chapters, they did have a solid core of the new type within the next decade. These new Primaris Marines were organised into squads and distributed throughout the companies. Their increased resilience and new and improved war gear made them extremely well suited to the Dawnhammer's preferred combat style, and their introduction was deemed a success. Within 40 years, the Dawnhammers had rebuilt themselves to full strength, with almost a third of those being of the new Primaris type. To date, only one member of the Dawnhammers has crossed the Rubicon Primaris, Captain Malice of the 4th Company. Captain Malice was the commander of the force sent to aid the Indomitus Crusade, and he and his men served with distinction for many years within the forces of the Crusade. During a battle on Duran Prime against the Thousand Sons Traitor Legion, Malice was critically wounded by a heretic sorcerer. With the Dreadnought sarcophagus unavailable, Malice agreed to the risky procedure. Its successful completion granted Malice not only new life, but a new strength, and in recognition of his service he was granted leave to draw his new war gear from the limited supply of master-crafted materials. Malus had always had a fondness for plasma weapons, and he took the opportunity to claim one of the new Hellblaster Primaris plasma incinerators as his own, matching it with a master-crafted set of Mark X Tacticus armour. Once the Indomitus Crusade concluded, Captain Malus returned to Halcyon II, along with his diminished strike force. Of the 97 Space Marines that had left, only 23 returned. In recognition, each of these veterans was granted a place in the First Company, and the Fourth Company was reforged, using solely the new Primaris type, with Captain Malus retaining command. While the end of the Indomitus Crusade saw the Imperium officially return to a state of stability, its borders remained more dangerous than ever, and the Dawnhammers stand as watchful sentinels, ever remembering their place as a single mighty stone in the Emperor's Great Wall.